There's something strange about this place.
This is a fragment of a lost ecosystem. An ecosystem created by ancient geoengineers that transformed huge areas into lush landscapes that we're just now beginning to understand.
But in the blink of an eye, that ecosystem was almost wiped out. The land was stolen, cleared in the most brutal ways you can imagine, and replaced with farmland. But the knowledge of how to create that ecosystem lives on to this day. So what if there was a way to bring it back?
Now we're coming back and we're creating this habitat for everyone.
I'm in southern Australia
To meet the people who are bringing back a 40,000-year-old ecosystem by using a mixture of First Nations ecological knowledge and contemporary climate science.
It's a huge vision that starts with this plot of land, where we're turning miles of empty farmland back into this. It's going to be insane. We're Planet Wild. Welcome to Mission 40. Most people don't know this, but tens of thousands of years before the first farm,
an advanced system of land management had already been developed somewhere else. When British colonists arrived in Australia less than 250 years ago, they were so surprised by what they saw that they documented it in countless paintings, because nearly all of Australia looked like the gardens and manicured gentlemen's parks that they knew from back home. Look at this painting of Budge Bim in Victoria, Southern Australia. This is what it looked like in 1865, and this is the exact same spot nowadays. Can you spot the difference? Back then, there was very little undergrowth and lots of open grasslands. That's because this place was managed and not wild like the British expected. In their ignorance, they simply could not believe that what they were seeing could have been purposefully cultivated by the first Australians they encountered there. But that is exactly what it was.
These knowledges are not new. They go back tens of thousands of years.
This is Mark Koolmatrie, a Ngarrindjeri elder who teaches about Australian history here on the Fleurieu Peninsula in southern Australia.
We manage the landscape by purposely looking after our resources. We had our supermarket, we had our chemist or pharmacy. The ecosystem provided everything.
But the question remains, how did they do it? Again, the answer is hidden in these old British paintings. They used fire. No, not that kind of fire. In fact, First Nations peoples prevented these kinds of catastrophic fires with a technique called Firestick Farming, or cultural burning. Let me explain. By assessing the moisture in the plants and reading the wind, humidity, and weather patterns, they could predict exactly how a fire will behave, making sure that only unwanted vegetation is being burned, while the earth, trees, and wildlife remain unharmed. They would guide the fires by igniting small amounts of vegetation and beating out flames that moved in the wrong direction. Over the years, this created a mosaic habitat, a patchwork of environments at varying stages of fire recovery. For example, burning kangaroo grass triggered fresh shoots that predictably attracted kangaroos to specific spots, kind of like livestock. Elsewhere, summer burns cleared competing grasses for the easy harvest of root crops like the yam daisy. And areas with the drooping she oak could be left for up to a decade so the wood could be harvested for building and then burned to prevent overcrowding. And the crazy thing is, farming as most of us picture it only began around 12,000 years ago. But there's evidence for firestick farming going back at least 41,000 years. In fact, some plants actually need fire or the presence of smoke in order to germinate their seeds, which is something that we can actually use to help us regenerate the landscape. But more on that later.
We allow everything to replenish. And when we do that, when we come back, we have an abundance of it. Then we leave some for the birds, the insects. We are all on a level playing field, and we should all be cared for in the same way.
So, burning the land isn't just good for people, but it actually leads to an increase in biodiversity, because it provides many unique habitats for different creatures.
You know you're in Australia when you just see kangaroos bouncing around everywhere. There's a beautiful beehive just coming out of one of the cracks. The tree's been long dead, but now it's harboring life. It's amazing. There really are butterflies everywhere. I don't know if you can see it, but I really feel like I'm back in the butterfly forest. That's another video. By the way, if you're new here, we go on missions every month to protect nature, crowdfunded by the Planet Wild community, which is now 25,000 members. And you can join by following this QR code. Now back to the video. This incredible tree that I'm sitting under is 300 to 400 years old. That means when it was small, it would have been part of an Aboriginal managed landscape. But now it stands here completely alone. And that's because something happened here in Australia that radically changed the face of the continent. When the colonists arrived less than 250 years ago, they immediately claimed the land as British, displacing and warring with the First Nations peoples, and started to clear everything. They invented new ways to clear the land as fast as they possibly could. In later years, strapping anchor chains to bulldozers to clear whole forests in hours, something that is still being done today. Native wildlife was hunted to the brink of extinction, all the nutrients were extracted from the soil, and those ancient methods were dismissed as unsophisticated.
Where we are right now is in an area that once was very livable by our people. They lived here, they celebrated together, they cried together, they created life together. And then that was taken away. It was taken away so other people can have that life.
And this is what we're left with. It's just all farms as far as the eye can see. And it feels like the surface of the moon. I mean, it's really just completely barren. There's nothing here. But what if we could bring back that ancient ecosystem? Here in South Australia, that dream is actually becoming a reality. All of this was a farm just 7 years ago, but now it's part of the Forktree Project, which is transforming the land back into the paradise it once was. It was founded by Tim Jarvis, who's working together with the local Aboriginal community to make it happen.
I think as a white person in Australia, you do feel a sense of responsibility for what went on in the past. So it's a tremendous honour to help them piece things back together.
This is a huge and complex undertaking, but Tim likes a challenge. He spent years travelling to the most remote parts of our planet. He's been to the North Pole, to the South Pole. Seriously, this guy has some stories to tell. In 2013, he sailed across the freezing Southern Ocean and trekked over subantarctic mountains to follow the path of explorer Ernest Shackleton's mission 100 years before.
Shackleton, when he got to the island, he had to cross 3 glaciers. We only had to cross 2, the other one is now a lake. The difficulty with climate change is you can't see 430 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere, but you can see a melting glacier.
Seeing the destructive impact we humans have had on the planet, he knew he had to do something.
I believe in leaving the place better than I found it when I'm gone.
So, Tim got to work. First, he sat down with First Nations elders to understand exactly what it would take to bring this specific place back.
What did your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, what stories did they pass on about what used to happen on this land? A lot of conversations to just get that information out from lots of different people. And I collected a list of about 35 species from them that were really significant.
Then Tim took this list and he kicked off a large-scale restoration project over 54 hectares of old farmland. And this is how it works. Step 1 is bringing back these native plants from the brink of extinction. This is the rare seed orchard, a specially built, protected environment for critically endangered plants of high cultural and ecological value. The Planet Wild community is funding the protection of 15 new species here in the rare seed orchard. And for each of those, 10,000 seedlings are going to be produced. That's 150,000 new plants. Which brings us to step 2. This is the state-of-the-art nursery where they're growing more than 170 different species of native plants. Those seedlings are not just for here on the property, but they're going all across South Australia, bringing the native plants back. But remember, some of these native plants need fire in order to germinate, and we can't just start firestick farming out of nothing, because right now, most of the land still looks like this.
So the nursery team, led by Fleur, has developed a way to recreate these conditions without a real fire. She soaks the seeds in smoke water, a liquid with the exact chemical signature of smoke that tricks the seeds into sprouting.
It smells like barbecue sauce.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
It's like
I get that. I
smoky
thought
barbecue crisps.
it just makes me think of going to a bonfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, step 3 is planting. We're supporting 10 hectares of restoration here at Forktree.
And that's 10,000 trees planted and monitored to make sure they're well established. And of course, I got to work too. And it's tough work.
Now that is how you dig a hole.
This work is happening in close collaboration with First Nations Rangers from the Ngarrindjeri community, because Forktree is a pilot project. The Rangers will take the knowledge of how to restore the ecosystem back to their land, where they have the opportunity to build their own nursery and potentially restore thousands of hectares.
It really means everything to us guys. Like working on land, working on Ngarrindjeri, and trying to make it the land that it once was once before.
The feeling of walking through this place is just really special. All of these trees that are around me were not here 7 years ago. This was just an empty farm. And now you can tell, you can get a sense of what it's going to become.
It only takes one person's idea to make a difference. That one can become 2. That 2 can become 4. That 10 can become 100. By creating a movement of change, we are leaving a legacy for those that are unborn right now. We're leaving a legacy to know that my great-great-grandfather planted that. My great-great-grandmother worked on that place, and places become significant. You can come to these places in 100 years' time, 200 years' time, and sit and listen to the voices of those that have gone before us.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. I'm genuinely really grateful for your attention today. I hope you can tell that we put a lot of effort and work into the missions, and we're just a small team, you know, trying to do something good, trying to make a difference for the planet. But we don't do it alone. We rely on the support of the Planet Wild community, which now has 25,000 members, which is crazy to me. As a member, you're directly supporting the people on the front line of nature conservation. And every single month, we fund a new project, whether that's cleaning up our oceans, bringing back endangered species, or, like in this video, restoring entire habitats. And when you're a member, you can see the direct impact of your contribution here on the channel. So if that sounds good, there's a QR code here or a link in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.